Afternoon. Welcome to the Danvers Historical Society. My name is Sheila.
And I'm Amy.
And Amy and I work here as volunteers for the Historical Society. And normally we would be with third graders last week and this week who would come here on a field trip to learn about their local history. But sadly we were not able to do the program this year for the third graders. So what we decided to do was do something to send out photographs of historic objects and for people to think about matching these historic objects with modern objects. That's one of the activities we asked the students to do in the third grade. We asked them early in the school year to bring in a modern object they own that they either play with, they create, or they learn with. And with their classmates, they would do a photograph of everyone holding up their modern object. Then they would send that photograph to us and we would try to match it with historic objects from our collection. And we have quite a few things in our collection. So over the years we've been able to put together a group of these artifacts so that the students can come and compare them to the modern objects. So what we did this year, we posted photographs on Facebook of a lot of our objects, and we asked not only the third graders, but anyone out there to match it with a modern object they own today. Again, these are objects you would play with, you would create with, and you would learn with. So today, Amy and I are going to show you some of these objects, and we are promising we're keeping social distance so that we are nice and safe. But we're also wearing gloves, and these are gloves not dealing with the virus, but dealing with protecting the objects. So these are white cloth gloves that we have to wear when we're holding up some of the historic objects. So I'm going to let Amy begin showing you some objects that we are asking the students to match.
All right, so I'm going to take you over to this table. This is a table of musical devices. So over here we have an old-fashioned record player. Long before CDs and iPods, we would have, this is how you would listen to your favorite music. We also have a old-fashioned radio. And then we have a tape recorder that you can, listen to old-fashioned cassettes on. And then over here we have an old-fashioned clarinet. So these recording devices were invented around between 1870 and 1880. And of course, musical instruments have been around for thousands of years. And then another little interesting thing we have on this table is this old-fashioned camera. So this is a film camera. What you would do back in the day is you would actually take this piece of film and you would put it, load it into the back of the camera, and then when you take your pictures and when the film runs out, you would have it developed by a professional person that develops pictures, and that's how you would get your pictures. Now this device can be related to Danvers history because right here, these are light bulbs that were manufactured by a company here in Danvers called Sylvania. This company used to be on Sylvan Street, and these are little light bulbs that would have been put right into this camera right here. So that's a little fun fact about Danvers. All right, thank you. Okay, so over here we have old-fashioned typewriters. Long before computers, this is how you would write your papers, newspapers, everything was typed here on typewriters. We have two different models. This one's a later model from the 1950s, and then over here this is from the 1930s. So for fun, I'm going to put my name on here so you can see how it works. So A M Y. So I kind of was already writing my name, but Amy and then earlier Sheila wrote her name on here. And it would be the same mechanism with this typewriter as well. I started to write my name over here earlier. So typewriters were invented in the late 1800s, and really they were they were the #1 writing mechanism until the modern day computer. But that being said, typewriters are still a novelty. People still collect them as antiques. There's a famous actor that does collect typewriters, and fun fact, maybe you can try to guess who this actor is. He plays real life people, such as he played Mr. Rogers, he played Walt Disney, and he might be from your favorite Disney movie playing Woody the cowboy. He voiced that character. So now I'm going to take you over here to old-fashioned phones. So we know Alexander Graham Bell invented the first telephone in the 1870s. Now these phones are a little bit later than that. So this phone right here is a rotary phone. Now before you could, just push the numbers, you would actually have to manually dial it with this rotary number system. So for example, if your phone number started with 9, you would take your finger, put it in this little hole right here, and you would bring it all the way back to this little metal bar, and then you would let it go. And that just dialed the number 9. So our area code is 978. So I'll do 7, 9, 7, 8. So I just did 978, and then you would just continue it to do the rest of your phone number. And then this phone right here is a little bit more modern because it has the actual touch numbers, so it's much easier to dial. And these were, phones in everybody's house that they would have long before cell phones. And what's fun, a fun fact from everything that I talked about, from the music table all the way to this table, is that all of those objects can be combined into one now with your smartphone. I mean, your smartphone can make phone calls, it can type just like the typewriter, and then with the musical devices over there, now you can listen to music on your phone, you can take pictures just like that old-fashioned camera. So all those objects really are combined into one now. Very interesting.
The next thing we wanted to show was things she would play with, either games she would play or sports she would play. And we're very fortunate here in Danvers because we have some famous athletes. And these athletes have been very generous in donating some objects they used in their sport. So recently, the most recent object we have is this hockey stick. And this hockey stick was used in the Olympics in 2014, and Megan won the silver at that time with the women's hockey team. Then in 2018, of course, her team won the gold. So this was a hockey stick she used in the Olympic trials of 2014 when she won the silver. And she was very generous to donate it to the Danvers Historical Society. One of the other things we pulled out was this old skate. So very different from the type of skates you see the young women playing with when they're playing hockey today. So those are two things from our collection. The other thing we have is this baseball glove and this baseball and this shirt from the Danvers team. One of the most famous Danvers baseball person is Roger Day, and he's actually was a coach for many, many years. He's retired now, and Roger donated this shirt to us. Today, he is in the Massachusetts Hall of Fame for baseball. The other sport I wanted to show of famous athletes are two brothers, Mark and David Barbero. And they played football and ended up playing for the National Football League in different teams. David, pictured here, played for the Patriots, and his brother Mark played for the Giants. So we have these different sports. So some things may not be that very old, like a hockey stick or a football, but we would still want to collect them if the person's willing to donate them to us. The other game I wanted to show you was not a sports, but these are old games. These are jacks that people still, some of you may still play jacks, and we have a jump rope. And one of the things we discovered when we researched these, and you can look it up yourself, these are two games that have been around for thousands of years. Native Americans played them, and also Egyptians played it, the Chinese. These were all types of games that children play. In the early years, mostly boys played jacks or jump rope. Then in the 1800s, a lot of young girls started to do jump rope and playing jacks. One of the things I discovered was when you looked up Native Americans playing this type of jacks game, they ended up calling the jacks that they played with, which were actually bones from animals, they called them knuckle bones. One of the other objects I'm going to show you is a collection that's connected to the Page House next door. One of the last people to live in the Page House was a woman named Ann Page. And she ended up being the first kindergarten teacher here in Danvers. She actually started the school in 1860 in her parents' home. She taught young children for many years, and what she would do is have them be very creative, make things. One of the things they would do is work with blocks, and kindergarten blocks, and these would be like Legos today. Later on, she decided to teach young adults, mostly young women, to become future kindergarten teachers. And if you attended her school to become a future kindergarten teacher, you would also put together scrapbooks of activities. One of them was teaching young children about weaving. So there would be different ways. Here you can make different shapes, a heart, looks like a snowman here. And you would teach the children how to do this. But you would have this scrapbook as a teaching tool for you. The other thing you might do is have a scrapbook of folding papers like these, and they would all be different shapes, and you would have the children learn how to fold paper and put it into shapes. One of the things that was interesting, this week in the New York Times, they actually had making the newspaper into shapes of hexagon and showed you how to do it, and then you would play a game that they would set up. So people are still folding paper today to be creative, and that is what Ann Page was teaching her students a long time ago.
Okay, so over here we have the toy section. One of my favorite things in this little section is the old-fashioned Barbie doll. The Barbie doll was invented in 1959, and this is one of the first versions of the Barbie doll. I'm sure you have a Barbie doll that's very similar to this. It might look a little bit newer. We also have a puppet of Jiminy Cricket. This was Jiminy Cricket's from the famous Disney movie Pinocchio. We also have some handmade puppets, such as this little doll right here. And then we also have a handmade puppet of Kermit the Frog from the Muppets. And then another little toy we have here is this old-fashioned truck. Yeah, so I like the toys over here. And I'm sure you have toys that are very similar to these toys. These are just a snippet of some toys that were taken in time. And yeah, toys always evolve over time, and I'm sure you have very similar toys to this.
So thank you for joining us today at the Danvers Historical Society. We hope you'll go back and look at our postings from last week and look at the photographs of all the historic objects we posted and try to match them with a modern object you have. And if you can, send us a photograph of your modern object. So I'd like to tell you thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you very much.
And we hope we see you sometime back at the Danvers Historical Society. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.